Chev, Rico Dowdle has just been on a tear, 200 plus yards back-to-back weeks. He got his revenge against the Dallas Cowboys. We see some metrics here. 9th in explosive rating, 4th in yards per touch at 6.2, 8th in true yards per carry at 4.9, 3rd in rushing yards already, 472, and he's just had the bell cow lead role for 2 weeks. So we love Rico Dowdle. And I don't know if we get that job back for Chuba Hubbard. Granted, the Panthers love Chuba Hubbard, but you got to love what Rico Dowdle's doing. Chev, take a look over here. We have just a day ago, 2026 round 2 pick in a 2-quarterback, 12-team start 9, full PPR, 0.5 tight end premium, straight up for Rico Dowdle. How fast are you hitting smash accept for Rico Dowdle?
Pretty quickly. I mean, I'm really excited about Rico Dowdle, and the role is what is valuable in this offense. So we've seen Dave Canales now, year over year over year. Rachaad White's big breakout year, that was Dave Canales as the play caller. Last year with Chuba Hubbard finishing as the RB10 in 15 games, basically, or RB13, whatever he was. That was with Dave Canales, and now Rico Dowdle has taken it to a new level and brought explosiveness and efficiency. So I'm smashing accept. I think that he's a thing that this is going to end up. I know that this goes completely against Dave Canales' tendency to use a bell cow, but this is going to end up more like Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams back in the day, where you have these guys, like you have 2 really talented guys, and they both could end up being close to 1,000-yard rushers. Or if Rico Dowdle just carves out a role where he's the early down back or the hammer, he's going to have the high value touches. So a 2026 second at this point for how impressive that he's been back-to-back weeks against run sieve defenses. Like, he did what you're supposed to do and punish bad defenses. So yeah, I'm comfortable with a 2026 second for Rico Dowdle. If I can tier up to Saquon from Rico Dowdle, that doesn't seem like a real trade, but here we are looking at it in the face. It happened. If I'm able to turn Rico Dowdle and Tyquan Thornton into, this amalgamation of Bam Knight, Michael Carter in a 2026 too, like, if I could turn those guys into Rico Dowdle and Tyquan Thornton, I would do it, even though Tyquan Thornton's relevance may be coming to an end. So there's a bunch of price points to be in on on Rico Dowdle at, and he's going to continue putting points in your lineup. So yeah, all that to say, Rico Dowdle is a guy that I'm believing the performance and the hype, and I think it's going to be sticky, even though it won't be ceiling 30-point performances on a regular basis. We could be looking at 15 more often than not.
Hey, and Rico Dowdle last week, RB2, 33.9 fantasy points, second only to Bijan Robinson, who just went off. Hey, 40-yard rush, what? 81-yard touchdown rush for Bijan Robinson. You love to see it. But markets, both plays, both sides, wheeling and dealing. You get Rico for that 2026 second, smash accept. That person got ripped off. That person should probably be drug tested. And then Saquon Barkley for Rico Dowdle. We want to up tier to somebody like Saquon Barkley, with the numbers being lopsided currently, statistically wise. And I would go out and agree with you on that with Saquon Barkley. Now let's go, Chev. I just want to commend you. You've been a George Pickens truther. You've been very resolute about not just, going off on Twitter about how happy you are, but I know you're excited. So I just want to give a hat tip to you. You have been through thick and thin. George Pickens, believer, a truther, wide receiver 4 on the season, George Pickens. You love to see it. He's just crushing with CeeDee Lamb being out. There's his numbers. There are his metrics. He's 9th in targets at 48. He's 6th in deep targets, 2nd in red zone targets. And the Cowboys 3rd in team pass plays per game. Dak Prescott is just going to air it out. And here we have a couple deals for George Pickens. Straight up, George Pickens in a 27 round 1 pick. Could that be Jeremiah Smith, Chev? What side do you like?
Oh, yeah. This is a tough one, because I sold a lot of George Pickens in the offseason at the onset of the trade, just because I was like, all right, cool. So we've got a 1-year window for him to maximize value. And now we have to be on the side of caution, because this is a very, very, very fluid situation. Is he in the best situation of his career and his talent is finally paying off? Absolutely. Are we also on a 1-year playing the final year of his rookie contract, and he could go back to a situation where, it's just he's the only show in town, and it's the Will Smith in the living room, Fresh Prince meme, the final episode? Yes, we could go back to that. So he could go back to getting a 28% target share, but it's only 100 targets or, pacing for 110 targets, whatever it is right now. Right now, I think he's pacing for 130 targets on the nose. Again, I want to get out of the George Pickens business long term in Dynasty. But if he's in my lineup, I'm only selling at a premium because of the fact that, you know, he's going to give you 17 or 18 points a game. For the rest of this season, most likely. He's hand in glove fit, and he's shown you that when CeeDee Lamb is out, he can function as the alpha. He's sixth in explosive plays right now. He's got a 111.2 receiving EPX. So all of that to say, George Pickens is firmly a sell if you are not a contender. If you are a contender, you can buy high, but then the minute that he signs, his next deal, I would be looking to get out of the business unless it's a better situation that he's in right now.
Hey, and you have wheeling and dealing on the other end. As to your point, it's sharp because you can be bullish on a player, but bearish on a market. And that 27-1 is very alluring if you're trying to get out of the George Pickens business. But wheeling and dealing over here, Rachaad White and the 26-2 for George Pickens. It's kind of funny. They're in parallel situations where Bucky Irving is out, CeeDee Lamb has been out. Rachaad White gets a run out. George Pickens gets a run out. Give me George Pickens on this side. I'll take that. And I know Rachaad White could end up somewhere else next year. I would love that. 2026 round 2 is also nice. This is a fair-ish trade. It's not a ripoff by any means. But I do like that George Pickens side. 2 quarterback, 12-team, start 9, half PPR, 0.5 tight end premium in a vacuum. In most all leagues, I would really like dynasty formats. George Pickens on that side. So that's a very good a run out there. Let's hear from the Podfather because we're talking Dynasty. Let's have him talk about some Dynasty.
Hey, what if I told you there was a Dynasty app where you could get player lifetime values, evaluate trades, including draft picks out to 2028, compare the advanced metrics of 2 players, look up the sentiment, buy, sell, hold on players? Well, there is a mobile app that has all of that and more called the Dynasty Dominator, and it's $5 in the App Store on Google Play. This is my gift to you, the most affordable Dynasty League domination app available today. And if you already have it, the 2025 class is ready to download. Let's go!
Hey, there we have it from the Podfather. Here's a player, somebody who's wheeling and dealing. We have Luther Burden. We hear about DJ Moore getting hospitalized, maybe just as a precaution, but then there could also be a possibility of a trade for DJ Moore. You have the post bye week bump. Luther Burden. I had the ladder for Burden, 25, 40, 50, 60. It got me winning cash tickets up to 50 yards, and we're starting to see some life from him. You would love to see him take over. People forget. Draft pick, 2nd round draft capital for Luther Burden, 6 foot, 206. So it's the height and the weight and the short area targets that were always a concern for him. But we know what he can do. He can get, if you have a bet for 60 yards receiving, Luther Burden can get all 60 on one play. A lot of dynamism there. Maybe a little bit like Jameson Williams, where you can kind of get it all on short volume. Let's take a look, Chev, over here. The trade market for Luther Burden. You've got up in the top right, Luther Burden for 26th, 3rd, 2nd, and 4th. Essentially, you're throwing everything out except for your 1st round draft pick to get the upside of Luther Burden. Do you like that trade for Luther Burden, or are you tempted to just have, if you have all your rookie picks in 26, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths? Is that appealing there? Which side do you like?
I would send this for Luther Burden right now. We're on the precipice, I believe, of the full awakening and actualization of Luther Burden in this offense. If DJ Moore is going to miss time and they realize that he's just a better player than Olamide Zaccheaus and they hop off of this, hey, rookies got to earn their stripes, the details got to be good, which they do, and that is very important. But you're seeing Luther Burden take a step forward. We're fortunate because we got a very early bye. So Luther Burden, we get to potentially experience a rookie bump earlier in our season than we would if his bye was week 8, week 9, week 10. where he's just kind of got to grind in the shadows. So the heavens seem to be opening up for Luther Burden. And this was a guy that, I was torn on in the process because I was personally harmed back in the day by our guy. What's the receiver from TCU? It escapes me, but a very similar prospect.
Oh, Jalen Reagor?
Jalen Reagor, yes, the guy that the Eagles took over Justin Jefferson. So very similar profiles to me. So I was a little bit trepidatious, but Luther Burden is awesome. You saw it last night, and you're going to see more of that moving forward. So yeah, I'd give up a 2, 3, and a 4 for Luther Burden because I would have drafted him anytime that I had like a late first round pick. It was between him and Colston Loveland. So I just kind of split the portfolio. So yes, I had a first round pick grade on Luther Burden, and I'm sticking to that. So if it's less than that, yes, I will do that.
In pregame, pre-show, we talked about murkiness in situations for players and how the path isn't always linear. And if you can kind of find some price points on players where they're depressed and we can see a bullish element and angle for them, somebody like Luther Burden, as to what you said, hey, first round talent, but what's the situation? What's going on? And if what's going on for Luther Burden depresses a price, but we see any affinity for Luther Burden towards that first round prospect profile, we want to jump on it when we see it. And one more price point, Sam Darnold in a Superflex league, start 9, 12 teams, Luther Burden, Cam Ward, 27, round 3. I really think it's perfect to go and snatch low Cam Ward here and Luther Burden. And hey, I've got 227 round 3 picks far away from now. I kind of like that deal. Do you prefer Sam Darnold or are you on the Burden Ward side?
Yeah, this is tough because I mean, 2 QB start 9. I would have to go I'd go Sam Darnold just because it's hammers, but with the full, full actualization and regret that it could turn into Luther Burden being a start 9 worthy hammer. So I understand, and I understand that I'm taking on Sam Darnold, who's going to play some good football and he's in a great environment, but also understanding that Luther Burden could turn into a guy who's a hammer in a start 9. So, yeah.
Hey, there you have it. We split the loaf there on that trade. Let's go. Last player, Chev. We're so excited about Jaxson Dart. Would he? I'll ask 2 questions to you. Or maybe 1 question. I got a thought in my head. But last 3 games, first run out for Jaxson Dart. QB 11 at 19.8. That was his debut against the Chargers. Then 17.6. Had a couple turnovers against the Saints. We had called it on our defensive show about, hey, run the Saints this week. And then against Philadelphia, QB3 on the week, 23.6 fantasy points. My question to you, Chev, and I'll pivot over to these trades that we have for Jaxson Dart. Cam Ward, Jaxson Dart, you're on the clock. Is there any equivocation for you, Chev, as a Titans fan? 101, you get to re-roll, rack them again. Do you take Jaxson Dart or do you go Cam Ward?
Oh, yeah, I'm still going with Cam Ward. I think the higher fantasy upside is going to be Jaxson Dart just because he uses his legs. But franchise for franchise, I'm taking. If Cam Ward had Malik Neighbors and Theo Johnson and just a competent offense, like you'd be able to see the difference. And Jaxson Dart would be scrambling for his life and battling early onset CTE behind the Titans offensive line. So yeah, I'd still take Cam Ward in a real draft. In fantasy, Jaxson Dart is starting now. He's got way more mobility than Cam Ward does. So he's going to pay dividends for fantasy much more quickly. But I think Cam Ward always, is going to have to fit a camel into a keyhole and be like a Matthew Stafford type passer in order to be great for fantasy.
All right, so there's a juxtaposition because if you had to re-rack them too in a rookie draft right now, I see Jaxson Dart going ahead of Cam Ward. So we've had a pendulum swing there, but then again, you do the exercise on what would the NFL franchise do, and then you do the exercise of what would we do in rookie draft season all over again, and you make a salient point about situations. The better player could be Cam Ward, But the better situation for fantasy right now happens to be with Jaxson Dart, and that's the game that we play here. Now, here's a trade. Matthew Golden, Jaxson Dart, 2 quarterback, superflex, 12-team start 9 for the hammer that is developing and becoming Teteroa McMillan. Matthew Golden, sneaky breakout game last week against the Bengals. Which side do you like here?
Ooh, oh, buddy. Anytime that you can get a quarterback without having to give one up, that feels great.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness, that's. But at the same time, I've been screaming from the mountaintops, much like I did early on with George Pickens. Like Teteroa McMillan is a superstar.
Yeah.
And we're ascending. This is about as even as it can get for Teteroa McMillan and Jaxson Dart. I 50, like, you flip a coin, and 50% of the time I'd want to, because Jaxson Dart, if he's going to run the ball like this, we have a really high floor and what pretends to be a really decent, at least decent ceiling for Jaxson Dart. So as much as I love Teteroa, I would have to go Matthew Golden and Jaxson Dart.
Hey, I lean the same principle. You get the quarterback, you don't have to give a quarterback, and then you split the difference war value wise in favor of Matthew Golden. Teteroa McMillan, though, like you said, can be a cornerstone player. And this is a situation where the person who's acquiring Teteroa McMillan, there has to be a give something to get something, a degree of pain involved. But to have that degree of pain involved is because there's going to be a lot of pleasure on the other side. You know, discipline, right? You're getting Teteroa McMillan. You're very happy with this deal as well. I would imagine the person acquiring McMillan has depth at quarterback, because if you think entry point, you got Jaxson Dart at the 2, 1, 2, 3, or 4 in a rookie draft. You may have a plethora, and you have, you know, possibly a better team. Hey, I would go for the Dart and the Matthew Golden side. So love what we have here. We are the Trade Gods.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.